called Tomlinson.
Indeed, Mr. Speaker, it's a great pleasure to follow the honourable gentleman, the member for Ilford South, and his reasons to be cheerful part 2. It sounded like he may have needed a part 3 to fully complete his remarks, and I'm very sorry I missed his reasons to be cheerful part 1. But actually, that's my first point, Mr. Speaker, because I've been struck by the tone of the debate today. I don't know, perhaps it's because it's a Friday, but it's been rather measured, and it's been rather constructive, and I agree entirely with my right honourable friend, the member for Mid Sussex, and it's a point that was picked up on by my honourable friend, the member for North Devon, my honourable friend, the member for Henley. I disagree with the conclusion of all three of them, but they're absolutely and fundamentally right about the importance of the language and the tone that we use in this place, and I commend them for that and fully agree with the points that they made on the language. I also agree with the Prime Minister and would like to acknowledge the hard work that she has endeavoured to get us this far, and with her comment that the British people just want us to get on with it. In that, she is absolutely right, and my constituents, in fact, have been saying that for a number of months, if not years. And I certainly didn't come into politics to bang on about Europe or to squabble about the EU endlessly. But sadly, this proposal does not get on with it. And this is my first and fundamental objection to the proposal, and it's in relation to the backstop, because we cannot unilaterally get out of it. It is ceding control, it is ceding sovereignty, it is not taking back control. We'll be reliant upon a cooperative EU in order to exit from the backstop, and this is the precise opposite of getting on with it. And I agree with my honourable friend, the member for Hornchurch and Upminster, with what she says. Now, people say, well, we won't inevitably end up in the backstop, that we may not ever get there. We could extend the implementation period. But in fact, the Father of the House at PMQs confirmed that it will be years these negotiations will take. My old friend, the member for Orpington, again on the same day, cited evidence that it could well be the mid-2020s before a deal is secured. This prolongs uncertainty. It prolongs uncertainty. Businesses are looking for certainty. This deal does not give them that. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the Attorney-General himself, in his advice, confirmed that there is a risk that there will be protracted and repeating rounds of negotiations. We cannot get out of this of our own volition. That is my first and fundamental objection to it. And my second is the Court of Justice of the European Union. It is technically correct that we won't be subject to the jurisdiction of the CJEU, but it will still retain significant and prominent role under the proposed treaty in relation to movement of goods, VAT, excise, agriculture and environment. Further, under Article 174 of the proposed agreement, any interpretation of EU law is in question. Where it is in question, it is the CJEU who will be the final arbiter. It will be referred to them, and that decision will be binding. As we have seen with the recent judgment in relation to revocation of Article 50, it is a highly political court, and this proposal does not rid us of its shackles. Thirdly, just as importantly, although I don't dwell on it at length, just as importantly, this proposal threatens the integrity of the United Kingdom. I'm a unionist, I'm a member of the Conservative and Unionist Party, and this introduces a separate regulatory regime for Northern Ireland, and for me, that is a fundamental problem. Mr. Speaker, I'm a serial loyalist. I have never rebelled against the government in my admittedly very few 3.5 years in this place, and I do so with a heavy heart, but with a clear head that this is not the right deal. Mr. Speaker, in the time remaining, I want to make two further points. The Prime Minister has rightly been stepping up plans and preparations for no deal, or a World Trade Organisation, or a clean global Brexit, as I like to call it, quite right so. We will be ready. It is not my preferred outcome, but if it happens, we will be ready, because we have good ministers in place. We have the Foreign Secretary in his place. We have good ministers. We have good civil servants who will be ready and prepared. We are an ingenious nation, and we will make sure that we are ready. My final point, Mr. Speaker, is this. The Prime Minister is absolutely right to say that we will have no second referendum, to say that we will have no extension beyond the date of the 29th of March. Other honourable members have mentioned that. She has been firm in that, and in that she is absolutely right. There is a huge risk that the trust would be broken between politicians and the public if that were not the case, and the Prime Minister is right to stand firm.